Welcome to Sportingbet. We're back here with the Betting Emporium's Neil Channing, looking ahead to the Cheltenham Festival. We're 2 videos in, Neil. You've come with a couple of tips already. We're going to look at the World Hurdle today, but before we do that, we mentioned before we came on air today, what do you think of the 2 bets you put up so far? Just to remind people, it was each way jet ski 5-1 non-run no bet, and also each way Champagne Fever 7-1 non-run no bet. So the champion hurdle and the.
I hope you've not stuck me on jet ski at 5-1. We took 6-1. I think you're
6-1. Sorry,
you're now 5-1.
6-1.
I mean, no, I think it's quite important though, because you said to me, come along to the offices. You know, you can promote Betting Emporium, but you know, give a tip in a few different races. Now, I think it's quite important as punters that we realise that, you know, sometimes you really fancy one, and you should definitely, you know, have a bit more on that, and sometimes you don't fancy one quite so much. I think punters generally don't vary the amount that they bet between the horse that they really fancy and the horse they don't fancy so much. So for people coming in late to this that didn't watch the videos at the time, it's going to be hard to get 6-1 jet ski each way now. I would still back it at 5-1. I think it's a fair enough kind of price, and I think the place is still quite solid. I think it should be slight odds on, really, that it finishes in the first 3. So if you get 5-1 with a quarter, I think, you know, you're
non-run no bet.
Non-run no bet, yeah, is a key thing. I mean, although you know, it would have to be injured to not run. It's not like Willie Mullins is going to wake up and send it to a different race. So the thing in terms of the staking, I would say, you know, if your question is like how strong do you fancy these things, if you're a kind of £100 a race kind of guy, then I would say with Betting Emporium we always have a staking plan, and the average bet is roughly 20 points. So if you're £100 a bet kind of guy, then you should bet a 5 or a point. Jet ski would be like a 14 points each way kind of bet, so that would be an above average bet. I would say in the Champion Chase we gave that tip there of Champagne Fever each way. Now that horse was 7-1 when I tipped it, I think.
Yeah, it was,
and I think you're now 5-1, which is very fair. I mean, obviously the horse has won a race in Ireland last week, and Side of Grugy's come back and didn't jump very well at Newbury, and Sprinter Sacra also, you know, there are still doubts about that. So. And some of the other horses are now looking like they might possibly go to the Ryanair, which of course Champagne Fever could as well. But we you know, we've had our bet with you. Thank God you've laid us non-run no bet. So with that one, I would say not quite so strong. It's more of a 12 points each way bet. And if somebody has tuned in late, I would say at the current prices, I would maybe just have 8 points each way. You know, although you've got the advantage of knowing that, you know, maybe Side of Grugy's not looking as hot as it was, and that's going to run this weekend. Maybe if that doesn't get his jumping together, maybe it might even come to Cheltenham. I would say, you know, don't go too crazy, but they're still okay, those bets.
So you're sitting okay with those bets. Just a quick note before we speak about the World Hurdle. Obviously, we're going over the championship races here. It's easy for Sportingbet to lay bets on these big races because the markets are very mature, but obviously your bread and butter will be, for Betting Emporium, will be the handicaps daily. So that's, I guess, your sales pitch to the people out there.
Well, yeah,
that's where you're going to make your money this year.
Hopefully I don't need to do a big sell to the people out there, because anybody that joined us last year, you know, back the Triumph Hurdle winner, back the World Hurdle winner, and back the Gold Cup winner. You know, we had like 6 or 7 winners at Cheltenham last year, so we had a brilliant year. If anything, to be honest with you, we got too many customers. If you know, that's the worst thing if you run a tipping line and you know, there's too many people following it. It gets it hard to get the prices. But thankfully, there are a few bookmakers sticking their heads above the parapet for Cheltenham, and so they should. You know, they're big races, there's big prize money, and you know, they're still quite hard to win. The World Hurdle is definitely quite hard to win. It's wide open. It's kind of 5-1 the field. But actually, I don't think it's quite as open as people might think it is.
Let's just talk about the World Hurdle, because obviously, you know, the reason we do these videos with Neil is that we actually want to do something different. We want to give an informed opinion as to what a professional gambler will look at these championship races, and then as a bookmaker, we don't want to hide away. We want to try and obviously take the bets. So we've tried our best to do this at the moment. You mentioned this race being kind of 5-1 the field, and I looked at it this morning before I knew you were coming in, and we hear this all the time from pundits, but it does look difficult because there aren't any standouts in there. You can go quite deep here and make some sort of case for horses down there. So in terms of shape of the race,
you're right.
It's a deep field for you, and it makes it a tricky.
You're right. It's just a coincidence that the way we've made these videos is we started off talking about the Tuesday championship race, we went on to the Wednesday, now we're on to the Thursday. I actually picked them in the order at which, how little depth there was in the race. So with the champion hurdle, the reason I led with that and went for the strongest bet was because there was a lack of depth in the race. And then with the champion chase, I felt like there was a slight lack of depth with one or two of the runners having doubts. Out of the World Hurdle and the Gold Cup, the World Hurdle I think is the one that's got less depth in it of the two. But I agree, it's a deeper race. You can make cases for the 25-to-1 chances. What I did think was, though, there's a few at the top of the market you could throw out. Not necessarily throw out, but like we can say for pretty sure that Annie Power's going to go for the Mare's Hurdle.
Okay.
So, you know, I think we can be fairly sure of that. Obviously, it takes a chunk out of the market. Some people are doing non-runner no bet where it has to be shorter, whatever. But, you know, I think we can say that. More of that, obviously, has had a setback. John Joe and Neil Stable not having a brilliant winter, although they're starting to come into form now. I'm sure, you know, he's got a lot of spring horses, Tony McCoy having his last year, all that kind of stuff. But it wouldn't be a massive surprise if more of that never turns up at the festival. Normally they're quite secretive about these kind of things. They've come out quite openly, which makes me think it's quite a serious kind of issue. And on Tomport 2, you know, it seems like a nice horse and everything like that, but pretty well held last time out. I mean, it was like a 7-4 chance, comfortably beaten by Safford de Roy. I can't really see any reason why that horse would reverse the form. Lieutenant Colonel, all of its form seems to be on soft to heavy ground. I quite liked the horse. I thought it ran really well last time, but I think, you know, this is a different kettle of fish. I think Cheltenham will be run on good fast ground. The sun's shining right now. We know that the course drains really well. You know, obviously anything can change between then and now, but it's hard to think by the Thursday of the meeting, unless it really rains that particular 3 days.
You do get a feeling that it will be fastish ground.
Yeah, you'd have to think that. So I think you're basically looking at the two Paul Nicholls horses at the front of the market as being pretty solid. Oh, Rock on Ruby we didn't talk about. Of course, that horse never been over this trip before, so never won over this trip before. So you know, it's got to be a big doubt on the ground. I love Harry Fry. He's a great up and coming star and everything like that. And I'm sure Paul Nicholls will be delighted that he's trained up another great young trainer to go and rob the Cheltenham prizes from him. But I think Nicholls will be all right in this one. I think he's got the two big fancies, Arkander and Safford de Roy.
Yeah.
And I just think Zarkander's really solid. I mean, it was beaten in the long walk hurdle at Ascot. Some people criticised the ride. Maybe it came too soon. Maybe he didn't really give it the full throttle in the finish. But you know, it had a bit of time off before that race. It was, you know, a kind of 99% chance.
Is it genuine stay? Is it genuine stay? I mean, because I look at the betting and listen, I actually do agree with you, but I just got to make this point because obviously Rev de Civila, who chins Arkander at Ascot, is training around about 20 to 1.
Yeah,
5 to 1's Arkander. Maybe that was Rev de Civila's kind of last hurrah.
I think there was a bit of that. Yeah. And I think ground as well. Rev de
does that not put you off
from
a professional punting point of view? Does that not put you off? Do you think that maybe in a war, Zarkander up a hill 3 mile might be a little bit tough?
I just think it's pretty solid. I mean, if you go through Zarkander's history, it's very unlikely to not be on the premises at the end. I mean, it just, you know, I can see Zarkander, yeah, for sure. I can definitely see Zarkander finishing 3rd or 2nd or whatever. I can't really see it being worse than 4th in this race. It will be on the clock jumping the last, and you know, if it's half a length off the lead or in the lead at the last and there's 4 horses gone clear, would you be happy as a bookmaker knowing you just laid 5 to 1 this horse? I mean, I just think each way it just looks like a bit of an each way bet to nothing. It's not as strong as the other bets I've given you. You know, on the other 2 videos.
On the staking system you mentioned.
I would say if you're a £100 man and you've had a 70 each way on Jeski, I'd probably just have like 40 each way on Zarkander. So it's not as strong, but I still think it's a good bet. I think it's pretty solid. I think he'll be there or thereabouts. And I think come the race, you might find that one or two of these don't even show up at Cheltenham. You know, possibly if Rock on Ruby doesn't really get home, maybe 3 or 4 of them will pull clear approaching the last. Maybe 2 of them will pull clear, and you know, you'll have a fighter up the running at 5 to 1.
Nice analysis, enjoyed it. Nice to see that. You even tell us now how the race is going to be run at the end.
There you go, easy game.
So there's Neil's tip for the World Hurdle. That's to go along with Jet Ski at 6 to 1 each way. You corrected me there. Champagne Fever each way 7 to 1 in the Champion Chase, and now we're looking at Zarkanda each way 5 to 1 in the World Hurdle. Hopefully we'll get you back for the last one. It's going to be difficult because I know you're doing loads of previews. Everyone's going to be busy now the 10 days before Cheltenham, but it'll be good to see you again. But otherwise, good luck with Betting Emporium. I'm sure it'll be well.
I'll come back and give you one for the Gold Cup because you know, Betting Emporium, we had Lord Windermere last year, 33 to 1. So I've got a lot to live up to though.
Let's hope we see Neil back here soon. You can catch all of his action at Betting Emporium, and we'll be back here at Sportingbet in the near future.